We're running on Incomptech Music, trying to download new music for us because we are still using last season's music here. This music that you're hearing now. So, trying to get us some new music. So, we got a little bit of a shake up going. But music downloads are not exciting to watch online. So, I'm kind of like, well, let's not do the music downloads. Okay, so shout out to all you folks who are here or watching later. For those of you who are not familiar with what I do, um, I do a daily show where we work on my comic, creating my comic, which has so far been a 2-year project to world build and put pieces together and kind of come up with concepts and ideas. We're still working on that today. So we have been working the last couple of days and most of this week on uniforms. My comic is a space-based comic. So it is like a Star Trek or a Star Wars or something like that, science fiction. I'm very much a Trekkie, so it is very Star Trek-esque. In fact, the story of Bellatrix Rising comes from Bellatrix Rising is the name of my comic. Comes from I used to write a Star Trek comic called Tamerlane, and in that comic, I had evolved characters, and it all took place on a Star Trek starship called the USS Tamerlane, which was a scout. And so, at one point in time, about 2 years ago, just before, yep, just giving a little recap because I figure it's been like every whatever. You can see people posting up here, and that's Brent, my buddy Brent, who is with us today and will be helping me out because we're going to be working on Marines, and that's a thing. Anyway, so just giving a little bit of a recap because I feel like I should do this every so often. It's the beginning of a new year. Let me explain what's going on. So I was doing this comic called Tamerlane, which is a Star Trek fan comic. I was having a talk with my father, and he said, "How many pages have you done of Tamerlane?" I have about 300. He's like, "You can't sell any of those." And I was like, "It's kind of true." He's like, "Why don't you do what they did with Orville and just take all the characters, take your stories, move them over to your own universe, build your own structure around it, and everything like that?" I said, "That's a great idea." So I took every story I have ever written in my life, all of the great ideas that I have come up with, and put them all together in sort of my dream world. And I've spent the last 2 years kind of assembling that world. And I'm just going to move the Tamerlane comics or Tamerlane scripts over straight directly to them. And then I'm just going to change all the names and maybe change some of the technology. Oh, because you can't go to Twitch. I'm not seeing a problem over here, really. I mean, I'm still getting. Which, by the way, over Christmas, one of the Christmas gifts we gave ourselves, dear Brent, is a new router and new modem. And I've been kind of frustrated because I didn't want to get a new modem because I just bought a modem. And when I talked to Xfinity Comcast, their statement was, "Nothing's wrong on our side. It's your modem." And it's always our modem. And I had already replaced it once because of Xfinity Comcast saying it was our modem. And it costs like $100 every time it's our modem that's causing the problem. So I'm like, come on, my modem cannot have failed 3 times in a row. So I finally was talking to my buddy who is a super techie like you are. And he was like, well, part of the problem is they're feeding you more data than your modem can handle. It's not that your modem is broken, it's that your modem is too slow. You effectively have a 14.4 modem and they're feeding you 56K. And so you're getting dropouts in data because of that. or the modem's getting overloaded and the buffer is getting full and it won't upload information because it's too busy downloading information or whatever. And I said, well, now that makes sense. So we went out and got a much faster combination modem and a different, well, they're two separate pieces now, our modem and our router, instead of one mouter or ROTEM. Anyway, ROTEM sounds like something you need to see a doctor about. Anyway, so we now have two different units. And I've got to admit, I mean, we had some rough waters right off the bat, but it's been good ever since. So I don't have any problems with it. Maybe watching on the Geek Tank channel will work. I am broadcasting on my personal channel, the GS Davis Art channel, and the Geek Tank channel. So if you can find one of them, I think that every so often my personal channel decides to not broadcast me, and I'm not sure why, but it does. So that's a thing. Anyway, so that's the recap for today. It is a relatively lovely day in Colorado, if you don't mind cold temperatures, and YouTube and Twitch and Picardo. If you look up in the upper left-hand corner, right here, if you look up here, you can see all the places I actually broadcast to. I broadcast to Deviant Art. Well, I don't broadcast to Deviant Art, but I do broadcast to Facebook. I can't broadcast to Instagram out of Restream, but I will someday. YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Picardo. So there's that. So anyway, okay, let's get to work, guys. We were working on, at the time of this last time here, we were working on color codes, and I have almost all of our characters done here with color codes, and I've lost my mouse. There's my mouse. Okay. So we've got Navin, we've got Bennett's, we've got Mirel's, we've got Dr. Akparo, and we've got Chang. And those are the 5 primary characters that are together and with us at this point in time. So those are the primary humans in this story. We don't meet Alex until the very end. I probably ought to get her color codes too. But of course, she's not going to have a uniform. She doesn't wear a uniform. She wears just civilian clothes because she's a civilian. So we need to do a couple of things here. Navin's got yellow eyes, which I think is maybe probably a little ridiculous. So I'm going to go back over to our master color palettes here and pick some better eyes. I gave him amber eyes, but that makes him look like he's got like Data's eyes, and that's not what we're after. He doesn't have Data's eyes. So, and since he is an AI, we probably ought not to mess around with that game. Probably ought not to play with that game a little. So I'm thinking just blue eyes might be good. So if we go back to color codes, take a look here, because I think blue eyes might be better. Because then he's just a blonde-haired, blue-eyed fella. I believe if we were to discuss the concept and the operation of how AIs do the selection of hair and eyes, either it would be a random algorithm or it would be a genetic concept where it's passed down from the from their parents. That'd be my thought. But either way, I don't think you'd be able to pick or select it or choose it. I think that will be something you can't do. So we will copy and paste this, deselect it, and move this down into here, where we will, as we have before, desaturate this so we can get an idea of what black and white looks like for him. Red-headed with green eyes, huh? So all of these characters, as I just said, are moving over, right? So are moving over from previous Tamerlane characters. And let's discuss what that means. Because a lot of these characters already sort of belong, already have sort of a thing going for them. So hang on real quick. Feel like everything's just a little screwed up here. Just trying to get everything organized. Like, why is this all screwed up? These things always make me wonder. You know what's amazing? You think about when I look at this page right here. In this page. Because these two pages are almost 20 years old. They're made in 2005. The first pages of Tamerlane. A long time ago. It's a real long time ago. All right. Oh, that's because there's a different Tamerlane folder. Why are there two Tamerlane folders? Okay. So the characters you have all existed before. Like, this is Arbo, who is the, yeah, well, that's almost 20 years. This is Arbo, who's the Marine commander on board the Mako on the Tamerlane, which is interesting in and of itself because he looks very much like Navin, who's Evac Sison. That's this character, which may mean that I may want to change my color codes because I'm noticing I have color codes here for, and maybe I want to swap them. That may be what I want to do. plausibly. I'll have to figure it out. Okay, so looking through old pictures is great for me and not so much for you. So I'm going to call Navin blonde-haired and blue-eyed, and then we're going to switch for I'm going to switch for Arbo, right? So Arbo can be redhead with green eyes. I'm okay with that because that seems to be close to what we had on this one, maybe. So bring up Chang's color codes because now we have to think about our colors. Because we got a couple of things we're going to do today. We're going to work on the Marines today. So I feel like the Marines are probably close to this color as their primary, maybe, right? So a very, very rich dark blue. And the offset on it would not be very bright at all. In fact, the offset might be black. Well, let's go on ahead and decide what we're doing. But whatever it is, I actually think that the division colors might be well, they're not going to be red. We've already decided that. I'm kind of thinking this through because they're still going to have a dress uniform. So let's go ahead and bring up some sketchy places so we can sketch things. That's the important. That's a technical term, sketchy places. Let's see what we get in templates. No. I feel like I had like a bunch of like pre-poses set up or something so I can just use them for anything. Like perfect things to use for just sketching people. Let's do this. Man, that's aggressive looking. Yep. Okay. Add a new layer. On this layer, we're calling it white. And add another new layer. And this is the layer we sketch on. Right? And so I'm gonna real quickly, I'm gonna put a dot over here so I can remember what my color was. And go over here to there. Ours on the red layer. All right. So when we talk about our Marine uniforms, I'm kind of thinking it's full. I mean, obviously, we have to start with full collar setup of some sort. But I was kind of thinking of things with lines that went inward, like so. Either this, representing body armor of some sort, of some kind. Thinking kind of, you've got this kind of going that way. maybe even like some kind of triangle thing going for it. I'm just looking at the design here. And like we were talking about before, sort of give it a concept that it's semi sort of, and this is just the undergarment, if you will. Yeah, body armor connections. That's a good example of what it is. Just this is where the body armor connects in. But their standard service uniform has body armor connections on it because you're obviously going to wear body armor at some point. And this will need to flare because, of course, it's still a Marine outfit, or it's still a spacesuit, it's still space capable. So it's got to have the space capable forearm connections. So we'll just kind of go along here like so and just kind of talk about sort of this bit here. Offset it, huh? That's an interesting idea. So you mean something sort of like this? Or are you talking about like a double flap setup, kind of like that? Because they snap together. But something so that it's not obviously open right here in the front. Makes sense. Right. Right. Put that there. And this here is more body armor connections. Now, the real question we should have next is there a service patch on it? I do think that they'll have a Unity logo on here, but it'll be subdued. That's below a dude. Okay. Like that. And I think maybe even like crossways lines here for other body armor connections. So my thought is most Marines will probably keep that sealed all the time. Because you'll be like, well, where the Navy folks are like, this is uncomfortable. The Marines are like, yep. PM me an image. Dang it. Right. I see what you're saying. Just all the way over and like way over here, which might be better to do just that illustration that way. And then a line there that indicates that that's the connection. I was actually thinking they never really, I mean, they would seal everything up, assuming at all times that they could be spaced, Unlike the Navy guys, which probably after, right, got to show the muscles when not working. Unlike the Navy guys, which probably would kind of maybe even connections here. But I don't know if they'd be full connections like so. There'd be hip connections of some sort. Right. Kind of going down here, same thing as the other ones where we have ultimately flared out so that we can have reaction control thrusters on these. Right. But on the same token, we want the connectors in here to indicate that we can still connect to our body armor. There we go, like so. Right, got to show the muscles when we're not, yeah. I think that looks pretty mean. What do we think? We'll still need to do, because they're grav boots, we're going to still need to do, or mag boots. They're not grav boots, they're mag boots. So we'll need to do the bottom part a different color just to indicate that mag. Let's make sure it's sealed and watertight. Looks pretty watertight to me before I go in here and start messing with stuff. Because I kind of want to look at what colors would look like in here. So let's make sure it's all sealed up. Right, pretty sealed up all the way around. Da, 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 da. I'm just chasing lines here in my eyes. I'm just chasing lines. It sounds like a thing. It sounds like something you'd. I was just chasing lines, officer. Okay. So we're going to duplicate this layer. And then we're going to talk about what's this color and what's not. Because I feel like the main body is this dark blue, like so. And then the offset is whatever we're talking about. It's also not legal, but that doesn't stop people. All right. So if we were to do an offset color that was similar in some way, I mean, heck, we could probably just do this. Control Shift I. New raster layer. And then I'm going to make it neon green just so we can see if it worked. Right, there we go. Deselect, right? And now we can talk about our offset color because this is what I'm. Oh, hey, we didn't finish the boots. Right. So probably not that color. We're just saying. But what are we thinking? Something like this looks pretty cool. I mean, it would be very different and obvious. And if the offset color were like pure black, it actually looks kind of nifty. Yeah, looking kind of like the Seahawks. Well, we did have the Broncos uniforms earlier, right? So here's my thought on what we were at. Maybe midnight blue and black, which would make next up for the Patriots or the Raiders. And the Raiders would be easy, right? Because all we'd have to do is just do pretty much this. Okay, I'm done. Not necessarily. We'd have to make the other one black. Okay, we're going to go through here, and I want to see what this looks like without saturation, right? So we've got kind of this guy going for him. That's still not bad. I kind of like that. I mean, even in like grays, they'll be dark gray. They wouldn't be, this wouldn't be a light gray outfit, and would allow me to do things like I can give highlights on them around the edges, right? So we could just kind of, right, kind of like so. It even kind of looks like body armor. Think a little lighter on the main color because we can't see it very well. Right? Let's give this a little bit more on the blue. Let's raise that blue up. We don't want it to go too high. Well, we'll go up 5 and see what happens. That's not bad. I think I do too. I think I'm happy with the color combo. I'm pretty happy with the design. And we'll clarify this design, but I like this design pretty okay. So let's bring us up a template. And let's start working the template. No. There. What am I doing? I forgot. I forgot what I'm doing. Okay, here we go. Bellatrix Rising. Hi. We're awake now. No, we're not. We're really not, are we? We're really not. Nobody believes that we're awake. Okay. Let's start with the torso. Bring that in. Okay. And we'll make sure that we're the correct. Yeah, I know. I need more coffee. Next thing we want to make sure we do is stay in the textures bit so that it's the same size. because we really don't want to be on a different size here. The other thing is we don't have, yeah, okay. So I'm going to take this guy and copy, and I'm going to paste it. Okay, good. So the size is exactly the same, which is fine because that would really suck. Flatten this, and then we're going to save as so we don't screw it up. Into characters, we're going to call this one Marine Service Uniform. Or so. Service uniform, so we can get this correctly. Now, part of our problem is that we do not actually have the assistant controls, which tell us a little bit more about what's going on. When we get into the templates, some the females one here, and I'll show you. The female one has color codes, which let us see where they connect from point A to point B. And it shows here how they connect. So I can, at least with this one, I don't know why it does that, but okay. I'll copy, at least with this guy, being that way. On this, we can at least get close. If we do this, the bodies are remotely close, so it's not as bad, but they're not quite close, right? You see, they're not exactly lined up. So it does get kind of difficult to line everything exactly up so that it comes off of the different aspects of the different parts of the body. And why we need this is things like, if you look at this guy here, this lines up with this right here. So this teal section will line up with this teal section. So if you want to draw something that connects across the back of the maquette, you can, because you can draw to this line right here at the very edge of this teal section and know that you're going to continue drawing on this side of the teal section. So we don't have that with this guy. We just have to kind of guess and hope for the best. So there is kind of that. Usually what I do is I just count, like I count up from spots, and then, well, I see here's this weird little like whatever effect going on. So I'm going to know that here is a spot right there. And I know that that's a, exit point on the map. And in fact, I will do that right now. I'm going to go right here and say that this is an exit point on the map. And I'll go find the same guy over here. And then I just look over here and go, okay, so I picked the one that was kind of the middle-ish. So this guy here, and that's an exit point on the map, right? So I can now tell where the exit points are going to be on either side. And then I just count up every 5 from there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we just do this. All right. And then that way I can just count up to each side, and that gives me across the back where everything is going. A little harder when you get into the middle here, because this is kind of a weird little construction, because this is, of course, the middle of the butt, where the butt comes together to make the butt crack. So it's weirder to think about when you think about this is the middle of the glute. So the middle of his butt cheek is right about here-ish and stuff like that. A little bit harder to kind of imagine what's going on this particular body. So, but this section meets up with this section right here. So this is that. And that's a little harder to also remember. So more difficult than it needs to be. Kind of getting used to this in its own way is always a challenge. And so there's that. Okay. So now we've got this template kind of going on here. And I'm just going to go ahead and add a new raster layer. And we're going to talk about just the center part of the torso, which is here. Kind of goes along this line. And I'm going to, because we're going to design this uniform from scratch, right? So we know we kind of want these shoulder pieces. I'm going to take this and do not save. Part of the problem is I have done these shoulder pieces here now, which I know means that one part of it's going to be, well, they're both going to kind of be here. So they're both going to be kind of like this, and maybe even right to this line. And then I count 4 down from that turn, right? And then his neck is actually sort of split up between these 4 locations here. So we're going to do this, and that'll give you what we were looking for. With a seal on it that goes to the side of the neck right there. And I actually think I'm going to move this all the way right to that line. And then move it over, and then move this like so. So that's the seal on that part right there. Ends up right there, like so. Kind of complicated, but it works. And we will just do a rough on this and then put it onto a body that's already existing in there. And we'll make this work. Okay, so the next thing we need are these kind of partial stripes, attached stripes or whatever. Kind of more like this. I'm actually just going to do one side, and that'll give me a good idea of whether this worked or not. Because it might not have, right? And so we're going to talk about the idea of a triangle here and a triangle here. Just in case. And then this. I see already I have made a mistake. Excuse me. I have sneezed. Okay. Because we need to get past the abdominals here for this part of it, which is going to go all the way across the back, right? To our line there, which is 2 up. So one here, right? That's where that's going to end up on the other side, provided we're, correct on this. And then we're going to go like this, and then just run that across the back like so. So. There. And if that's correct, and that comes up in the right spot, then we're good. If not, we're not. All right. And I didn't put much going down here except for this connector right there. That's all we've got going on the lower torso. No reason to highlight where the most vulnerable part of your body is. And then there's nothing really on the legs point in time, just these things. And that's fine. So we're going to seal these up in case I want to change their color. Like so. The great thing about it being symmetrical is that I can transform it and flip it horizontal and then move it to here. And then we can see whether that actually just looks right or looks stupid. That looks stupid. We'll have to see. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is save as, because this is the way this kind of works. We're going to call this service uniform 01. Because here's a trick about using this kind of stuff with Daz Studio. The problem already, but I just got here. Do I gotta, Mom? Do I gotta? Okay. Here's the thing about this. We'll go ahead and load it in. This is hips. It's actually head too, but that's not really critical at this point. Neck, nipples, and torso. We'll browse it and we'll bring it up. We're going to take characters and we're going to look at the service uniform and see what happens. Okay. Actually, looks like a lot of it came out pretty close to what we already wanted. So we'll take our quick break and we'll stand up. Oh, goodness. And we'll come over here and switch to the ring camera so we can stand up and stretch. Remember, we got to stretch. Oh, man. And loosen up the neck. And we'll pivot our back a little. Some of us, our back is really not doing so good. And so that's a thing we've got to work on. All right. And take the perspective view. Okay. A couple of things I'm noticing. First of all, the back is arched, and I don't know if I want it to be arched. So let's get back to our monitor and look here. The back looks like it's arched across here. So I'm going to want to work on that. But other than that, the front looks pretty solid. Like we got pretty close to exactly what we're looking for here on these designs. So I'm gonna call that pretty solid, like what I'm after. I think I might want a little bit more of a line here and less of an arch across this part here. So it looks more like a point and less like a bubble. So that's these guys right here. And we can just fix that real quick. So I'm going here and just kind of pull this out like so. feel like that doesn't look as cool as it should. All right. So we're going to then put in more of this effect coming up. There we go. And could do that. And we'll get this guy, and let's take a look at that. What did that look like? See, that looked just fine. And here I was like, oh, I don't think it's going to work like I want to do. And it worked just fine. All right. However, it does look like the neck didn't work like we wanted it to. Because it looks like the neck is over here, and we really kind of want it there. So it's very, very much closer to here than we want it at, which is all right. Hey, dude. Is this time for cat visiting? Is it cat visiting time? Come here. Come here, come here, come here. Come here, come here, come here. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Come here. Come here. Come here. Stop rubbing up against furniture. Come here. Come here, George. Come here. How am I supposed to visit and scritch you if you walk away, you goobery cat? There we go. Put George for a George break. We like George breaks. George likes George breaks too. Right, George? You like George breaks. I have a George break. Scritch a cat. There's like a tummy spot right here, which he likes to have scritched, and he purrs. Okay. There you go. Your certified George break is over. Okay. Next thing we want to address is, I think, this line goes straight. That wasn't a good line. All right, we'll just come out here like so. Feel kind of like I can't draw a straight line with a ruler today. This line's not straight at all. It is kind of off my thing. Draw a much straighter line whenever I'm over on one side like that. It's a lot easier to do than it is to all right. We're getting kind of better here, I think. So we know that this is our alternate color, which may be black, and that might be okay. We'll have to see. But I do want to address, what are we doing on the back, right? Because like here is this piece that's coming around. But legitimately, is it going around the back of his neck? Like sort of like this? And if so, is this what we're looking for around the back of the neck? Which may be what we're looking for. And then just kind of do something like so. And just get this piece to be on the back of the neck like so. And then I like the idea of, huge connecting units for the back. So you've got this massive like clamp to go to that pack, because we'll have the armor that same armor piece that we use for spacesuits, we're going to make bigger. We're just going to enlarge it and stick it on the Marines. So they'll still be able to use that. But we'll need a connector of some sort for it. Right? So there's that. So we will duplicate this so that I can not lose my original line work, because I'm going to go ahead and do this and be curious as to what we see when we put this on our fellow Marine, right? Okay, because now I'm curious to see what this looks like. Save as, and we'll call this Marine Torso Service Uniform 2. Go in here. We're on the same one, so browse. Bring that up. All right. Looks vaguely Ava-esque. Like it looks vaguely like it belongs in. It also looks, since he doesn't have any legs or arms done yet, he also looks like it's a funny looking biking outfit. So here's a good question for you, Brent, when you've got a moment. Should we put rescue equipment on it or rescue markings? For example, when we look at these uniforms, this orange stripe is a rescue stripe. It's so you can be spotted in space. The question is, do we put those on your Marines? Because now we're at the kind of like, do you give Marines life vests question? You know, big orange bright life vests. And that's the next question. Should that be on their uniforms? Because that is sort of a thought process we're going to have here. Yeah. Sorry, Marines. You guys all just get to die a lot. Bummer. Sucks to be you. So, because you're right. I think that's, if you can't turn them off, there's probably no, I mean, you don't want to be glowy. But let's talk about if you can turn them off. Like if you can push a button and all of the rescue lights turn black. Can we have, on board a ship, wouldn't the Marines then have them always be in this orange? That's the question. So we're talking about on board ship. You're just on board a boat doing your normal daily duties. Would they be on, and would they be orange? That's the question. If you imagine that they're probably some kind of electrified cell, so it doesn't take any effort for you to just push a button and they all turn black. Would they be orange on board the ship traditionally? That's the next question. Let's see if those little circles are correct on the back. They are correct, but they are, of course, not aligned properly. And this is going to drive me crazy, guys. Look, now it looks like it's going the wrong direction. I really want it to go up. So we've got to make it go up, which that sucks. So we're going to multiply because they've got to go up at the very ends there. I don't want them to do stupid things. It wouldn't say power. I would assume that power is what changes them from black to orange. So it's not a matter of power, it's a matter of, that'd be my thought. I mean, if it was effectively neutral in power, like didn't make much of a difference either way. I mean, obviously. And the only real reason I'm asking is this is effectively going to be a dark gray on black or black on dark gray when we get into the actual story arc of this. It's going to be. So the question really is, will you even be able to see these guys as characters in the story? You know, there is going to be sort of a certain amount of, can't see them at all sort of aspects. So as an artist trying to draw these guys, I'm kind of thinking of, what would be a reasonable compromise. I kind of want to do that. I like that. Here we go. I'm just straightening and cleaning up the lines now. Now that we're pretty happy with what we've got. I actually think what I might do is make this more of, we'll get in here kind of close on this. Now that we're here, I like the triangle on the top one, but I feel like this should be a circle. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Like that. Kind of doing this critter here, kind of there. Yeah, I'm irritated. My throat's irritated. Friend of mine was exposed to COVID, so I'm kind of on lying low. But I don't think it's now been 6 days since I had contact with him, so I think we're okay. But I don't want to risk anybody, so it's all right. I'm lying low. So probably in the clear, probably nothing to worry about. Odds are good, but that doesn't mean I won't go on ahead and just take precautions just in case. It's no, I mean, honestly, it doesn't stop me from working because here I am, right? So makes no real difference. So I'm only going to do the right side because then we're just going to do what we were doing before and duplicate to the left. Now that we know everything is aligned correctly, with the exception of the little circles that I made on his back, which we know are not aligned correctly. So kind of doing this number here, kind of going along this line here. So, like so. I kind of come down here like that. And I'm just adding a point to this because it looks cool. To add this point. We don't know what these connectors can or cannot do. So we're good with whatever. And actually, maybe I want to kind of extend it up. So it looks like it's kind of connected a little bit to this guy. You know, like he's connected to this in some way. Let me actually just put a point there to indicate that. Like these guys all connect in some manner of some way. Cleaning these up over here. And we'll go to the back where we've got kind of the same thing going. And this time I will trim these down. The point behind the maquettes is to allow me the ability to put detail in where normally it would be very difficult. Right. So one of the reasons that I do this is because I'm an ADDer. And one of the most frustrating things for me is to remember details. And I'm not a detail oriented person, except that I am, in that I have a drive and a need to be highly detailed, but I can't be because I just don't do well with details. So I kind of feel like I need a line down here or something. I really feel like that. So I'm going to go ahead and add a line right here, which then can do this. And that's a uncomfortable place for someone when you want to be some way and you can't because you have some brain block against it. And that's frustrating and aggravating. And it's enough to bring you to tears. It's enough to be super frustrating. So part of this is overcoming a disability to some degree, because I am not detail oriented and I really want to be. So I get to be detail oriented right now, right here, and add all the details. And then as long as I follow my pattern when I draw, I'm good. So it allows me to do things like add bits that are very uniquely part of the design ethic of Bellatrix Rising, like that, which will be cool because it'll look like that on each one of his legs, right? And then I will come along here, and what I'll do is we'll take this and we'll go right through the middle, right there, and we'll hit delete. And then we will work, and we'll fill it with that, just like that. And we'll deselect. And then we will come over here. We're going to have to go back and fix some stuff, but we can copy, paste, right? And then we'll go over here and we'll say transform, and we'll flip it horizontal. That should allow us to put it right here. And we'll actually put it on, yes, I'm going to apply that transformation. Put it on normal, right? And then we will put you on. No, actually, you're fine where you want, where you are. We're going to. I don't know what we're going to do. All right, we're just going to move this guy for right now. Select. Grab tool and grab him and pull him up here. It's going to be hard to see for right now till I get this figured out, but that's okay. Very hard to see because we used the colors. We shouldn't have really used these colors right away. However, it's bridge under the troubled water. We actually could probably raise it up a bit, but then it'd be really hard to see. Okay. So we know that we are one line in on there, and we're there. Looking at that side, looking at that, coming down to here. This guy is lined up properly. And that guy goes out there, and those guys are lined up properly, and that's lined up properly. Okay, so then we take it out of multiply, normal, and we do you the same thing, take you out of multiply and normal, and then we say, before we do that, let's turn it all the way up. There we go. Good. Say E, and then we put you back into multiply and take a look, and everything should be the same. Noticing it is not. Did we mess it up? No, we didn't mess it up. There. Other than we borked that, but that's not a big deal. I could just fix that. There we go. And then we will go all the way across like so and down like so. Make that happen. And then we come up here like this and over like this. And this can happen. And there we go. Right. I can't see anything either. I totally blame you if I wanted there, Brent. I mean, okay. This should give me all of the pieces we need to make this work with the exception of the neck, which we now need to kind of come around and fix. But we know that this is kind of the neck right through here. So let's go for a black line like so. We'll do a black line up here. We'll just kind of do this to indicate that there is a neckline on this. And make it go to here. Undo. Make it go right here, I think is where I want it to go. Like so. And then we'll go like this. And then we'll say normal. I've been thinking about that. Okay, so we'll have to talk about this because I have a personal bias against tattoos to some degree. It's not your normal bias against tattoos. It's a different thing altogether. But I think in the future, what we would do anyway is you'd have patches of something pigment that are all programmable, so that what you'd end up doing is this would all of a sudden turn into this tattoo for this week, and then next week it'll be a different tattoo, so that way you don't have to worry. So let's take a look at this, and we'll go to browse, and we'll go to misuse serviceable 3. Here we go. Look at that. Actually looks pretty kick butt. I'm just saying, looks pretty awesome. So I'm actually not going to complain. That looks pretty solid. I think we probably should do a service patch though, because I feel like they'll need the service patch, but it could be subdued. Below a dude. That's below a dude. Okay. So let's go get the service patch off of another uniform. Right. We don't actually, let's open. Let's go get Chang's service patch. Maybe. I mean, entirely plausible. We'll grab her service patch because she already has an existent service patch. And I can make it below a dude. And we'll copy that. Over here, copy that. We'll put it. So that's where the service patch will show up, is on that actual spot. So let's take your service patch. Take your stupid service patch and raise it up there. All right. We got to make this service patch subdued below a dude. So tonal correction, the first thing we're going to do is drop its saturation, get all the color out of it, and then we'll drop its luminosity by half. By more than half. That's not going to cut it. We do want the... Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. Go through here and just take out the blue. And it'll be the same critter. It'll just be without its color. Yeah, I think tattoos in the future will be a different critter altogether. It's like I said, I think that it'll be because that's part of what I was saying here about the color stripes, the safety stripes. I think we're going to have, I'm going to make it so that there's a technology. I keep saying this like what I think the future is going to be like. And the reality is, this is my fictional universe. It can have whatever the hell I want it to have. So in my fictional universe, we have programmable pigments. So you don't have to worry. Um, I don't know why I'm going through this whole fight. Here we go. You don't have to worry about it because not only do we have programmable pigments on our uniforms, which actually could be really kick butt, because I'll bet you that this blue is programmable. And so we've got this blue, but they get out there in the field or whatever, and they just push something and it just turns all to a different color. So they could, in fact, be green or be woodland or be whatever, because each one of the cells on here would be pigment. My thought is, if you were to look at these spacesuits in close-up detail, it'd be a bunch of hexagons, and each hexagon would have a programmable pigment, would have a cooling element or a heating element, and would have a sensor of some sort that kind of gives information. This kind of stuff, and maybe even a little bit of a solar panel on the outside as layers on this, so that you can still pull power from, yeah, very much like active camo. You can pull power from solar power just sitting out in space. It's drawing power from the sun and actively bleeding your temperature away and all kinds of stuff, which is great because the Marines then could actively have those cells bleeding their heat away in different directions. So if the guys over there, the enemy is over there, all of these front cells would be bleeding the heat directly out the back. So you become this cold, for the front part of you would be cold. So if you were looking in infrared, they'd be like the temperature of the background. So you couldn't even be spotted in infrared because those cells would change the temperature on you. I feel like we're only a few years away from that already. We're already on top of that technology. We're not that far away. So that doesn't even seem like that'd be that much of a stretch for these guys already, you know. Okay. They've got their subdued below a dude uh, patch for the kitty wake on there. Did I check the neck? See what the neck looked like. The neck's not bad, but it needs to decide where it's going. I like the fact that now he looks like he's got like a hat, like a hood coming up and over. That's funny. Because actually, we probably ought to discourage that actively. Like, this should go on back to the back here. Stop being weird. Because this. Although, I may not actually be against this. Except then you can't have hair. As soon as you have hair, it's going to get in the way of this. So it's got to stop at the neck. Or else you're putting it on top of the hair, and I'm going to have to. Yeah, but then I'd have to. It just gets ugly in a big hurry. You can't have any hair then. And especially when I start drawing the girls, because there will be female Marines. So the female Marines, yeah, all my female Marines probably could just shave their heads. Maybe everybody in the Marines shaves their heads. But that still seems like an excessive amount of it. Also, okay, so side note, we are pulling there are two different masters in this. Whenever writing science fiction, there are two masters you have to serve. And you can see this a lot whenever we talk about how, like Star Trek, Discovery, and things like that. Star Trek has three masters that it serves, and that's hard, right? Master number one is science, right? And it's where the science fiction writer has to think ahead as to, what's the science, what will be there, like when we're talking about the cells on this thing, on this suit. um these cells that and they do their thing. That's the science. Master number two on this one for me, because I'm a comic artist, is the art. There comes a certain time where everybody's bald, everybody has shaved everything, and everybody is pretty much identical looking, which means that drawing, Bob and Tim becomes a problem because Bob and Tim look the same. So Bob comes onto the bridge and says, "Captain, the Snurgleblatt's on fire." And you're like, "Is that Bob or is that Tim?" I can't tell because they've shaved everything and they look the same. So we have to have a certain amount of things that artistically we decide are all, you know, a concept. Star Trek has canon to have to worry about. And that sucks because then you have this third master that's pulling all the time against your science. That's what's happening with Discovery, is a war between those two, right? Because Discovery takes place before original series. And so, canonically speaking, they have printers on the bridge because that was high tech in 1964. So, but it's not high tech now, and we're way past that, and we're only like 30 years later, right? Or 50 years later. We're only 50 years later. And all of a sudden, dot matrix printers are actually like ancient tech for us. We've gone way past that. So it depends on what master you serve on this one. Discovery decided to serve science and art instead of serving canon, and that causes rifts within our community. For me, I have that same problem here. I've got like, well, I could put this up here on his head and in fact just give him a big hood that he wears all the time. But then again, we'd be back to, is that Bob or is that Tim that came up to the bridge? I don't know. They all look the same. All Marines are going to look the same. And in black and white, it's even harder to do different shades of skin color, because unless you have literally a black Marine and a white Marine, it's going to be very difficult to tell which shade of gray that was that came onto the bridge. So we have sort of that fight that we have to go through, which is between art and science. And that's why I'm like, we're gonna have to let them have hair, otherwise Bob has his hair up forward, Tim has his hair shaved short, you know, Joe has his hair with ponytails, whatever. It doesn't really matter. The idea being that you can tell them apart because hair helps. And sure, we could do facial features like scars and things like that, but it does make it difficult to do that. All right. So we are here. Those look cool. That looks cool. Everything looks cool on the front. All looks well. We need to save a new version of this, but we're not going to do it yet because we need to go back and look at the grid here and see where this goes wonky. And this goes wonky right about where that connector is. So we need to go back to the back and only really go like a handful of dots up from there. So this is where we start counting. Okay, so we go to the back. Go to the back, go to the back, go to the back, back. We zoom in over here, okay? So we know that from here, we really only want like 4 up, right, to about here. And that's about it. So we're going to go up 1, 2, 3-ish from there. Which means from here, we've got to kind of come around here and figure out where that connects, right? That's going to connect. I have to drop it down a little so we can count the numbers on here. We're going to come out here, and it does come out a little high. We were discovering that before, right? When we look at the model here, it comes out high. So it's down lower on this side before it comes up and goes around. So in order for it to come out here, it's going to have to come out right about here and go a little higher. So like right about here is where I'm thinking it's going out. So we're going to come around like so. I'm going to take this guy and just put him all back where he belongs. And we'll just flatten that out like so. I see a blue door and I want to paint it black. Sorry. You never know. Anything can happen in this show. Anything can happen. 4, 5. Right? And go out here like so. Come up here and just do this. And it just gets rid of that. And we'll come along there and just straighten that down. We're going to cross there. And now we'll come across here. And we'll see what happens. This could be trouble. What's the worst that could happen? Okay. And that means I like this guy being a little bit more like this. And maybe straight over into this connector over here. And that's how we're going to make it work. And we'll make it go into this side connector. So it'll pop out this way. And in fact, that's maybe what we'll do is give it a line across like so that it makes it obvious that this guy kind of is a different unit of some sort. Not part of it, because this is how it opens. It's going to pop open here and then pop open here, and then it'll come open this way. And maybe I will even establish that as a line like so. Right, there we go. We may actually maybe want this line. We'll see. I'll put both of them on there and we'll see what happens. Because I may decide I don't like that far left line. We'll decide whether we like the far right line or not. So we will save as, and we just keep going up iterations. I was going to say it before, DAZ Studio, the way the DAZ Studio works, it loads these things in once, and then you have to, it doesn't load it again. So we keep changing it, but nothing's going to change on this until, yeah, I think I like the inner one better. Nothing's going to change on this uniform, or nothing's going to change on this until I close and reopen Daz Studio. So that means that we definitely want to do that in a different way. And they don't, in fact, line up as we suspected that they would not. Although that's weird. That side lines up perfect. This side, not so much. Well, that's fine. I'll just fix it. What gets me is that this line. Okay. I don't understand, people. I don't understand. Just saying, I don't understand. All right. Which means this is correct. This one's not. Here's how we do this. We take you and we go like so. And we say multiply. And we zoom in right here. And then I don't mess with this. Here to here to here to here. Out. And I'm going to align it with this black area right here. And I'm going to copy, paste, deselect, transform, flip horizontal, and we will do this. Right, we'll align it to you. There. Hit OK. I can come in here. And we will take you and kill you like so. And then just redraw the line. And then kill this line. Done. Well, there is no perfection, but all right. I dig this, and I did think I ultimately kind of liked that outer or this inner line. I actually don't even want this. I feel like it should go really close, even closer than this guy went. Here is the end that I want. There will have to be a female variant of this as well. So we're going to have to get into the female side of this as well. There. There. But for right now, I like this. This works really well. We'll save as, and I think service uniform 5 will be our exit point. I feel like we will be able to check to make sure everything lines up. There we go. That lines up. That lines up. You can see the release seal here on the side of his uniform. That works fine. Looks good. Okay. I'm liking that. Should my little kittiwake symbol be black on his chest? Like the actual kittiwake itself, the bird. Should we make it black? We should probably make it black. I see a white kittiwake and I want to make it black. Yeah. That way you can kind of see the bird on there. Or would it be inverted? For example, this is all black and the kittiwake is white or blue. Wonder if that's the case. Maybe that's the thing. That's what we want. I think we want that. That's what we want. So I'm going to new raster layer. We're going to do this. Select. Yeah. Way too big. This, by the way, says KWT. Yeah, that's it. That's what we need. The subdued or inverted like that, which works. Okay. I'm happy with a lot of this, I think. I feel like my Marines have a very marine high. Like uniform. As we have discussed before, my Marines will likely not always or not be in this uniform very often. They'll be in armor a lot of the time. But it's all right. Fixing a couple of these connectors. Okay, look at that. Marines. Okay. We have about 4 minutes left. I might go a little over because we are going to work on because I want to kind of at least get started on the limbs on this. You're still here either way. The limbs are kind of a pain in the butt. They don't line up like they're completely different than the female limbs. Well, maybe they aren't. Because they actually kind of no, they're in. They might not be. Let's see. Maybe. How off are they? I always wonder how off are these things. Off enough to not really be useful. Doesn't help that this arm is reversed, like flipped around. This still makes it extraordinarily difficult to try to figure out where things are. So if you look at this, this is the, like I was saying before, here is the female side. I actually have somebody was kind enough at one point in time to color code all of these things and give connection points so you can see where the mats connect on either side. And then, even little pictures here where it shows painting around things like so. Show how it maps onto the various things. So very, very useful. We have none of that here, right? So can't do anything with this. That makes it kind of a bummer. We'll work on it. Not that worried. Not yet, anyway. All right. But I can use this as sort of a guide because they will be sort of mapped in sort of the same way. But the other thing that's kind of a bummer is this gives me a guide of where it connects onto the torso right here. And I don't have that with the male side. Kind of a bummer. You know what? I've never actually looked to see if Genesis, if there was ever a, you know, does 3D Genesis 2 templates guide? Theme guide. Right? What's a seam guide on these? Let's see if they've got a seam guide for. Nope. Server was not allowed to. Well, I mean, to be fair, it was posted in 2014. So it's a long time ago. So there's that. Maybe images. I can get the legacy UV templates for Genesis, but there's no seam guide for it. That's the problem. I want a seam guide. Oh well. Yeah, I'll get there. Guess I can't do it. Not right now. Oh well. Now to combat armor. We'll get there. Okay, so I'm thinking similarly to Most Piata. Genesis Climber Most Piata. So let's talk a little bit about the Cyclone or the Most Piata. Right? Because I love the Most Piata style armor, and I always have. So let's talk a little bit about what we want to do with our armor. Most Piata has the best looking armor. And since this is my dream comic and I can do it any way I want, I'm gonna do this my way by Most Piata armor. So let's talk a little bit about Most Piata armor. Right? So here's Most Piata, the Most Piata armor, which of course my face gets stuck on top of this. But I'm thinking this kind of thing. So this would be underneath, right? It's my way or no way. In my comic, man. In my comic. Okay. So I'm thinking like this piece here would still be under armor. And by when I say under armor, I mean as in I'm not going to build a 3D model piece on top of it. I'm just going to have the jumpsuit underneath there be the armor, and we can make a different map. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a leg piece like so, and like this for the lower leg. And then I'm going to build probably not a different arm piece. We'll just do a redress of the existing greaves. And then I'm going to do like a hip piece like so. Then I'll use the chest piece that we've already built. And then maybe I should give them shoulder pieces of some sort. But I don't want to add too many pieces. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of collision, right? If you have too many square pieces, then when they move their arms back, you'll get the pieces will run into each other. And since DAS doesn't actually do collisions, it won't matter. So I'll have to then manually adjust all the little armor bits all the time and keep moving armor bits to make them work right. And that'll get irritating and I'll get annoyed. The whole point behind this is to make this a fast process, right? Just pose the person, put the scene together, and then render it out so that I can go in then later and draw the people in. And then all we got to do is just fire that one thing off, right? So, who's booping me? Motion at my front door. See if anybody's there. Nobody's there. I love seeing my front door. That's very cool. Very, very useful. Okay. So this is where I am. I think you're not at my front door. Well, no, I'm crushed, Brent. I'm crushed. I thought you were at my front door. I was looking forward to seeing you. And here we are. So anyway, the other reason for doing this leg piece is if you look kind of like at the actual Legios, the leg is very similar in design. And so I could make mecha later on that have sort of this same kind of design going for it. I'm a major fan of Genesis Clamor Most Piata. Epic fan of this. This is one of my favorites. The Genesis Breaker project, huh? I don't think it's coming. I'm just saying. This is ridiculous. Look at these feet. Oh, they must have cut that out. There must be a foot under there and they just cut it out somehow. Yeah, because I'll bet you it's part of... Kind of cool. Looks like there's a new Genesis Climber Most Piata project coming in. Cool. Always a cool thing to see. I mean, just saying. There we go. Okay. I think I'm at least done for right now. We got some of this going for us, and then we got into the weeds. And now I feel like my momentum has been disrupted. So I'm going to stand up and stretch again and say, I'll see you all tomorrow. I did manage to get my music set up, which is great. And we got a lot of this part of the office straightened out, which is also great. Really, I think we're just down to figuring out what to do on these bottom shelves, the paper shelf, and this section right here, which I need to redo anyway, because this section is going to be my stand over here and draw section, which will have my second camera, which actually you can see the second camera actually has, not that one. The second camera is, where is it? There's other camera. Is this the other camera? I think that is. The second camera actually runs over here and is aimed at this section, this little work desk over here. So I'm trying to get this work desk cleared out so that we can work on things and have the camera running. So we've already got that kind of going. So got to get that area cleaned out. That'd be fine. We're working on it. We're getting there, that kind of thing. So I'm hoping for opening and closing credits. We're working on it. So in the meantime, everybody, I'll see you tomorrow. And remember, keep your eyes on the stars.